Hi, good day ma'am. This is my performance in Module 6, which we must need to choose and present a local issue by using a PowerPoint presentation. And in this presentation, I will discuss about my chosen issue, which is the impact of climate change. And now, before I will start presenting, here's the objectives or the contents of my presentation. Objectives: the difference between weather and climate, the cause of climate change, the effect of climate change, action for climate change. And now you already know my objectives. Let's move on. First and foremost, let us differentiate the weather and climate. The difference between weather and climate. Weather is a state of the atmosphere at a particular place during a short period of time. According to Merriam-Webster, it is a state of the air and atmosphere at a particular time and place. The temperature and other outside conditions, such as rain, cloudiness, and etc. Climate is defined as an area's long-term weather patterns. The simplest way to describe climate is to look at the average temperature and precipitation over time. Moreover, it is a usual weather condition in a particular place or region. To illustrate this matter, I prepared an illustration to simply differentiate these two. So we already know the difference between weather and climate. Next, let's find out what is the cause of this issue. The cause of climate change. First on the list is generating power. Generating electricity and heat by burning fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas causes a large chunk of global emissions. Most electricity is still produced from fossil fuels. Only about quarter comes from wind, solar, and other renewable resources. Manufacturing goods. Manufacturing and industry produce emissions mostly from burning fossil fuels to produce energy for making things like cement, iron, steel, electronics, plastics, clothes, and other goods. Mining and other industrial processes also release gases. Producing food. It requires energy to run farm equipment or fishing boats, usually with fossil fuels. Growing crops can also cause emissions, like when using fertilizers and manure. Cattle produce methane, a powerful greenhouse gas, and emissions also come from packaging and distributing food. Powering buildings. Globally, residential and commercial buildings consume over half of all electricity. As they continue to draw on coal, oil, and natural gas for heating and cooling, they emit the significant quantities of greenhouse gas emissions. Consuming too much. Your home and use of power, how you move around, what you eat, and how much you throw away all contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. So does the consumption of goods such as clothing, electronic, and plastics. And lastly, it has an enormous contribution to climate change. Cutting down forests to create farm or pastures or for other reasons causes emissions. Since trees, when they are cut, they release the carbon they have been storing. Since forests absorb carbon dioxide, destroying them also limits nature's ability to keep emissions out of the atmosphere. We already know the causes of climate change. Let's move on to the effects of the climate change. The effects of the climate change. Firstly, hotter temperatures. Warmer temperatures over time are changing weather patterns and disrupting the usual balance of nature. This poses many risks to the human being and all other forms of life on Earth. Also, in the year 2020 was one of the hottest years on record. Higher temperatures increase the heat-related illnesses and can make it more difficult to work and move around. Wildfires start more easily and spread more rapidly when conditions are hotter. More severe storms. Changes in temperature cause changes in rainfall. This results in more severe and frequent storms. They cause flooding and landslide, destroying homes and communities, and costing billions of pounds. Drought. Water is becoming scarcer in more regions. Droughts can steer destructive sand and dust storms that can move billions of tons of sand across continents. Deserts are expanding, reducing land for growing food. Many people now face the threat of not having enough water on a regular basis. A warming, rising ocean. The ocean soaks up most of the heat from global warming. This melts ice sheets and rises sea levels, threatening coastal and island communities. The ocean also absorbs carbon dioxide, keeping it from the atmosphere. More carbon dioxide makes the ocean more acidic, which endangers to the marine life. Loss of species. Climate change poses risk to the survival of species on land and in the ocean. These risks increase as temperature climb, forest fire, extreme weather, and invasive pests and diseases are among many threats. Some species will be able to relocate and survive, but others will not. Not enough food. Changes in climate and increases in extreme weather events are among the reasons behind the global rise in hunger and poor nutrition. Fisheries, crops, and livestock may be destroyed or become less productive. Heat stress can diminish water and grassland for grazing. More health risk. Changes weather patterns are expanding diseases such as malaria. Extreme weather events increases disease and death and make it difficult for healthcare systems to keep up. Other risks to health include increases hunger and poor nutrition in places where people cannot grow or find sufficient food. Poverty and displacement. Climate change increases the factors that put and keep people in poverty. Floods may sweep away urban slums, destroying homes and livelihoods. Heat can make it difficult to work in outdoor jobs. Weather-related disaster displays 23 million people a year, leaving many more vulnerable to poverty. So we already know the effects of climate change. Let's move on to the action we need to consider to minimize climate change. Action for the climate change. First and the most important things that we should do as a human being, planting trees. Why is planting trees important? The roots of trees hold the soil in place as it fights erosion that causes landslide. It also absorbs and stores rainwater that help reduce runoff and sediment deposit after storms. It also helps recharge groundwater supply, prevent transport of chemicals into streams, as well as preventing flood. Proper waste disposal and management. These can be done by applying 3R, reduce, reuse, and recycle. Reducing means lessening the amount of trash produced. Reusing refers to the using materials more than once, while recycling means creating a new material or product out of trash. Eat more vegetables. Eating more vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds, and less meat and less dairy can significantly lower your environmental impact. Producing plant-based foods generally results in fewer greenhouse gas emissions and requires less energy, land, and water. Throw away less food. When you throw food away, you're also wasting the resources and energy that we used to grow, produce, package, and transport it. And when food rots in landfill, it produces methane, a powerful greenhouse gas. So use what you buy and compost any leftovers. So we already finished discussing the whole presentation, and before I will end my discussion, I would like to show this quote by Mark Ruffalo, an actor and environmentalist. Climate change is the greatest threat to our existence and our short history in this planet. Nobody is going to buy their way out of its effects. That would be all. Thank you so much and God bless.